What's up guys, TopTierYugioh here. This is going to be a Subterror Deck Profile where I really want to go in depth on a lot of the card choices to talk about what I played and also what I didn't play. And so first thing you're going to notice is 3 of each Subterror. I think you need to max out on each one right now because you want to have the highest probability of resolving Stalagmo's effect, because that's really going to help you draw into your deck a lot faster and it gives the deck a lot of speed. And also you want more in deck for Nemesis Warrior's effect. Next we play 2 Midshield Gardna. I think Midshield Gardna is important to the deck because it allows you to special summon your Behemoths from hand with just a normal summon. So in a lot of decks, there usually aren't ways to summon your Behemoths outside of summoning Prediction Princess Tarotrei, but you need some other way to summon them. And so Midshield Gardna gives you something that you can search off of Reinforce of the Army and use its own effect to set it face down and then trigger a Behemoth effect in hand and then special summon it. And the only reason I don't play 3 is because you don't want too many normal summons in this deck, because you already have Behemoths which are hard to summon. You don't want a lot of normal summons as well, because then you're just going to end up with a lot of dead hands. So I want to minimize the normal summons and maximize the ways to special summon my Behemoths. Next we have 2 Prediction Princess Tarotrei. Tarotrei is one of the better cards in the deck as it has a quick effect that allows you to flip your monsters on either player's turn, as well as special summon your Behemoths from the graveyard, which is really good. The reason I don't play 3 of Tarotrei is that it's not very good in multiples, nor when you're already losing. Like, you don't want to answer an established board with a ritual monster, because ritual summons are inherently easy to stop, and usually are going to be minuses in terms of card advantage. So you don't want 3 of a card that's going to be an inherent minus to summon, and is easy to stop and not good in multiples. And it's also searchable by Manju and Pre-Preparation of Rites, and then once you summon one, Predicts a Ritual can search another one out of your deck, so you really don't need 3 in your deck. 2 Manjus to help us search our Tarotrei and our Prediction Rituals, and this is our way of kind of circumventing playing 3 of either one of them, because I'd much rather have a Tarotrei and a Manju than 2 Tarotreis. And same thing with Prediction Ritual, I'd rather have Manju and Prediction Ritual over 2 Prediction Rituals. So it's sort of like playing 3 of each, but also giving a little more flexibility as to what you can draw. Next we play 3 Terrortops and 1 Taketomborg. I think the Speedroid engine is really good for the deck because it allows you to special summon 2 level 3 monsters, so the total level is 6, which means if you summon a Nemesis Warrior, you can send all 3 to the graveyard to summon a Stalagmo. And while it may seem like a minus, if you have a hidden city, that's a +1. The Stalagmo's effect is a +1. So you can easily make up that advantage, and then when you flip your Stalagmo, you're going to be able to summon back your Nemesis Warrior. So it really gets your engine going, as well as offering a rank 3 engine. That allows us to play cards like Breaksword to pop monsters and back row, Totem Bird, which is good when you have an established board to protect it from things like Raigeki, because this deck is inherently weak to board wipes because there aren't really any in-engine ways to get back or protect your Behemoths. So like a Raigeki just destroys your whole field and there's nothing you can do about it, because nothing has any protection effects. Totem Bird gives you a way to negate that, and you have Invoker, which can search Nemesis Warrior, and Dante, which is just generally good. So rank 3s are actually very powerful, and Speedroids give you access to them. And then finally the last monster is 1 Garnet, because we do play Brilliant Fusion. And so I chose this one because it is a level 4, which is useful, so you do play a lot of rank 4s. And it also has high attack. For the spell cards, you play 3 Hidden City and 3 Terraforming, and although you can only activate 1 Hidden City per turn, you do want to draw it in every single hand. Like, you want to see Hidden City as fast as possible, because really the ceiling of this deck is if you have a Hidden City, a Tarotrei, and Nemesis Warrior, and a Behemoth. Because that means your opponent can't attack because of Hidden City, they can't target because of Nemesis Warrior, and then you have Tarotrei flipping monsters face up and face down, and that's sort of the ceiling of the deck. And so to reach the ceiling, you need to see Hidden City, and that's why you want to play effectively 6 copies of it. You don't want to play any less because you want to open with that card every single game. Next I play 3 Brilliant Fusion. Brilliant Fusion is similar to the Speedroid engine, to where it just gives me a monster that I can special summon, and then tribute with Nemesis Warrior to summon one of my Behemoths. And you can actually use Zirconia in this deck because Stalagmo is Rock type, and it's a level 8, meaning that you can summon Zirconia with Brilliant Fusion, normal summon Nemesis Warrior, and then be able to summon your Stalagmo or your Umastryx. And then if you have Hidden City on the field, you can flip it, get the effect, and then keep plussing from there. So it's really just another starter card. 3 Pre-Preparation of Rite, the last starter card. It's an instant +1, and it searches your Tarotrei and your Prediction Ritual, which means you're probably going to be able to summon it, which again helps you reach that ceiling as consistently as possible. So this deck has 12 starter cards, which gives the deck a very high probability of drawing one of them, and that probability is about 85%. So in 85% of your duels, you're going to draw a starter card. In nearly 60% of your duels, you're going to draw Hidden City with the 6 copies, and then you're going to draw Subterror in about 80 of them. So there's a pretty high chance of you drawing all 3 cards that you need to reach your ceiling. And I kind of found that 12 starter cards is really a good number for this deck, because you don't want too many. You don't want too many starter cards, because then it's hard to play late game. So like for example, Brilliant Fusion is not very good once you've used it. Pre-prep isn't very good once you've used it. So like once you get going, you don't want to see too many starter cards. But I thought 12 was a good median number that allowed me to see it early enough and not as often late game. 2 Prediction Rituals for summoning the Tarotreis, 2 Instant Fusions, because it helps you with rank 4s, and it also helps you reach your ceiling as it can be sort of a pseudo starter card, because if you have it and Nemesis Warrior, you can still use Nemesis Warrior's effect, tributing Nemesis Warrior and Norden to summon the Umastryx. However, I don't include that as really a starter card because you can't get Stalagmo, which I think really speeds the engine up a lot more. However, it can be counted as a starter card, but I just wasn't sure if it really fit that role as well. But nonetheless, Insta-Fusion is really versatile, and about half of your extra deck is rank 4s, and this is what really helps you go into them more consistently, along with Nemesis Warrior's Graveyard effect. 2 Book of Eclipse, because it can also flip your monsters face down to help you summon your behemoths, as well as being a way to have some defense. This deck also has problems with targeting, so if you look at Umastryx, it targets, Tarotrei targets, and nothing really has that much attack. And so Book of Eclipse is another way to play around monsters that can be targeted, so like Dark Destroyer and Chaos Max. You can flip them face down with Book of Eclipse, and then banish them with Umastryx. And I'm really considering siding a third for decks like that actually. Then the last spell is 1 Reinforcement of the Army, because you can search Midshield Gardna, which is a starter card, or you can search Nemesis Warrior, which helps you get your engine going, as well as also being something you can just discard off of Stalagmo. So Rhoda gives a little bit of versatility, and the only trap I play is 1 Solemn Warning. And before we're getting into the extra and side decks, I really want to talk about some cards that I chose not to play. And the first of which being is Prediction Princess Koinorma. I see a lot of builds playing this. It's a flip monster that when flipped, you special summon 1 level 3 or higher flip monster from your deck and face down defense. And you can't activate monster effects for the rest of the turn except for Prediction Princess monsters. And the reason I don't play this card is because it is a flip monster. And while Subterrors is an archetype that revolves around flip monsters and flipping them, I don't think that's a good enough reason as to play other flip monsters that aren't within the archetype. So sure, you can search your Umastryx, your Stalagmo, but you can't activate their effects this turn. And then also, with it being a flip monster, that means it's completely dead in all situations unless you set it on the field yourself using your normal summon. Whereas I'd much rather use my normal summon on something like Midshield Gardna, which I can instantly use in order to summon a Behemoth, or Manju, which is going to give me a search, or Nemesis Warrior, which is going to do its thing. Whereas Koinorma is just a little too slow for the meta right now. And that's my same reasoning behind not playing Ghostrix as well. I see a lot of people playing Ghostrix because again, they're flip monsters that can flip themselves face down. But the problem with Ghostrix is they can't be normal summoned. So you have to set them. Then they have their survivor turn, then you can flip them face up, then flip them face down, but that's just too much. You cannot assume that a Ghost Trick monster is going to survive a turn. And you don't want to play stall cards to help them do that because stall cards are generally bad. The Ghost Tricks are just generally bad cards in my opinion. And it being an archetype that also revolves around flip monsters does not mean it's going to make Subterrors better. Same with Geargias. I think Subterrors are best focusing on our strengths, not trying to synergize with other archetypes just because they have similar mechanisms. Next I want to talk about Pot of Taboos. The reason I don't play that is because it is a level 9 monster first of all. So if you draw it, the only way to summon it is to tribute set it, which is awful, or to summon it from your hand off of Tarotrei. And so that assumes you're able to summon Tarotrei and it not be someone striked or anything during the end phase when you activate the effect. And I really don't like that. It's just such a dead card, you can't be searched. You don't want to play mini because you don't want it in multiples, you can't draw it. And this deck already plays too many other cards you can't draw, such as Taketomborg and Garnet. And I just didn't want to add to that. As well as it really just not having any synergy with Subterrors. Like Pot of Taboos is a really good, strong flip monster, has amazing effects. But being a strong flip monster is not a good enough reason to play it in this deck. We want to focus on getting the Subterror engine going. And there are just not enough situations where Pot of Taboos is worth it. Another card that I opted not to play was Spirit of the Fallwind. And this was something that I played a lot up until recently, but I started to realize the more I played it that adding a flip monster to your hand isn't good because Spirit of the Fallwind takes your normal summon anyways. And so like you would summon Fallwind, search a Behemoth, but then what would you do with that? You couldn't summon your Behemoth because you had like a face up monster, so you'd have to flip it face down with like a Book of Eclipse or something, which means you're already, taking a minus just to summon it. And you don't want to do that. And the only other option was if you were going to use it for Prediction Princess, for the tribute fodder. But even in that situation, I thought it'd be better to just draw like a Stalagmo or an Umastryx itself, rather than wasting your normal summon to search one. The only other situation when Fallwind is good is if you already have a Stalagmo on the field and you're able to use the effect. And that's just like pretty specific, like you can't play a card expecting to have a level 10 monster face down on the field, It's just not, just doesn't happen enough. And just to rehash on the whole Tarotrei thing, again, it just doesn't happen enough. Like, you summon Tarotrei a lot, but usually it takes your normal summon to get there, such as like with a Manju. And again, you don't want too many normal summons with all those giant behemoth monsters as well, and rituals. So it's like a very delicate balance between normal summons, behemoths, and ritual monsters, all of which have been historically bad, then trying to mesh them together with things that special summon like Brilliant Fusion, Instant Fusion, Speedroids, and trying to raise the ceiling high enough to make them good. And that's really what I focused on with this deck. So let's move on to the extra deck. And first, 1 Gem Knight Zirconia. mentioned that before. It's going to help you summon your Stalagmo when summoned with Nemesis Warrior. 1 Gem Knight, Seraph Knight. Seraph Knight's come up a few times when I needed to like get that extra normal summon for a rank 4, or to get that extra normal summon to tribute set a Umastryx or a Stalagmo when I have Hidden City. It's come up every now and then, so I like playing one of each. It came up a lot more than some of the other Xyz monsters that I took out for it. Like, I used to be playing a lot more rank 10s, like the trains pretty much, but I found these to come up a little more than rank 10 trains. 1 Northern for the instant fusion, 1 Flare Metal Dragon. If I was gonna make a Xyz monster with 2 Behemoths, I wanted to win me the game, and Flare Metal is exactly that type of card. Gustav Max can kind of do the same, but it doesn't have that inherent protection like Flare Metal. And also I tend to summon more Umastryxes than Stalagmos because Umastryx is what's gonna answer most opponents' boards. So it's like I'll summon like an initial Stalagmo, but then once I get everything going, it's like Umastryx, Umastryx, Banish, Banish. And so rank 7s are a little easier than rank 10s in my opinion. 1 Utopia the Lightning, 1 Utopia Prime, 1 Utopia. Again, for getting over monsters that can't be targeted and other giant towers like monsters. That 5,000 attack and not being able to use effects in the damage step is actually really useful. 1 King of the Fair Limbs because you can search Umastryx, and that's actually come up a solid amount of times, especially when trying to get your tribute fodder for a ritual summon. 1 Castel. I've been going back and forth between 1 and 2 because you can actually use it to flip itself face down to summon your Behemoths, but that's generally not how I'd like to use a rank 4 monster. Like, summoning a rank 4 to flip it face down is inherently not a good play, even if you do get to summon a Subterror monster. Like, it comes up every now and then where it's good, but generally that's not a very good practice, and so I keep it at 1 and try to up the amount of times I could do that within the main deck instead of using my extra deck to summon Behemoths. 1 Emerald. This is probably the rank 4 I go into most because you can burn through your deck so fast with Nemesis Warrior's effect. It's easy to run out of Behemoths because you're just sending them to the graveyard, tributing them, discarding them for Stalagmo, and you only have 9. And once you run out, it's pretty much game over. And it's also good for putting back your Taketomborg and your Garnets. So I really like Daigusto Emerald in this deck. It's definitely what I summon most out of all the rank 4s. That and Utopia the Lightning. Well, Utopia and then Utopia the Lightning. Then Dweller for certain matchups when it's good, like Burning Abyss, and Monarch sometimes. Rogue matchups. For the rank 3s, 1 Breaksword for popping monsters in back row. I chose this over Grampulse. Like, you can summon Grampulse to play around Rivalry, but I don't think anyone's really playing Rivalry right now, and if they are, I'll take that L if they're playing Rivalry. But I think Breaksword's just a little more versatile because it gives me a rank 3 option that can destroy big monsters, whereas Dante, Invoker, and Totemberg can't do that. So I wanted that little bit of extra versatility. It's also pretty decent when you have a Brilliant Fusion. You can just pop stuff for free. That's kind of cool, right? Yeah, and Dead Hidden Cities too. You can also pop those. 1 Totemberg. Definitely one of my favorite rank 3s because this deck is so weak to Raigeki, Darkhole, Stormforth. Like, most of the spells that decks play generally hurt this deck pretty badly, and Totemberg gives me a way to kind of play around that. Especially in the Monarch matchup, it just comes up so clutch then. 1 MX Saber Invoker because you can special summon Nemesis Warrior from your deck, which helps you get into your combo plays a little bit faster. And even if you can't use it for a combo, you can use it for a ritual summon at rank 4, or even just let it go to the graveyard so when you flip your Behemoth, you can summon it right back. So Invoker is actually really important to this deck. And then 1 Dante because none of the rank 3s have as much attack, so it's a pretty good attacker. It's good when you have an instant fusion in your hand, because sometimes you can build that level 4 monster, which helps you go into a rank 4, and also it allows you to play cherries. And speaking of cherries, let's get into the side deck. And now I'm still testing with the side deck a lot. It's pretty flexible right now because the main deck space is so tight. I'm still playing around with what to put in and out in each matchup. But right now, I'm playing 3 Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, 3 Maxis, 3 Veilers, 1 Raigeki, 3 Royal Decrees, because this deck cannot play around traps. Like, you notice I don't play MST or Twin Twister, and the reason for that is Twin Twister simplifies the game state way too much in this deck. I'm playing it like a combo deck. I don't want to have a simplified game state because you can't summon Behemoths or Tarotreis in a simplified game state. You need as many cards as possible, and discarding for Twin Twisters is not worth it in general. MST is a 1-for-1, but I figured I'd rather go with Royal Decree to shut down all the traps, because the decks I'm worried about are going to play multiple traps, not just one. It's not one trap that's going to kill me, it's going to be a bunch of them. So Royal Decree kind of handles that, and it's also just a 1-for-1, just like MST would. And then 2 Solemn Scoldings, which I like in the Cosmo matchup, because usually if you can negate that initial normal summon, you're pretty good for the turn, unless they're playing like Demise version. But in a lot of cases, just negating that first normal summon, or using it on a timely tag out, can generally win you the game. And I also like it against Pendulums because you can negate Pendulum summons. And I decided to play this over Solemn Strike because Solemn Strike doesn't have the ability to negate things like Raigeki or Odd Eyes Fusion, which are also very hard to play around. So Scolding has a little more versatility while also stopping those same threats. And I don't have any other effects that cost life points, and so it doesn't really... That 3,000 life points isn't a big deal for this deck. As to what I take in and out, I'm still playing around with the ratios and trying to decide what would be good to take in and out in each matchup. But generally speaking, against Burning Abyss, I side out the Book of Eclipses and the Solemn Warning. Just because the Book of Eclipses aren't bad in that matchup. Like, they're actually pretty decent. Because if you set something face down, you can't summon any more Burning Abyss monsters, they'll just blow themselves up. Which is very useful game 1. But game 2, I'd rather draw like a Cherries. Solemn Warning, I don't think is that good in that matchup because you're just going to trigger their Dante, their Beatrice anyways. So I side all 3 of those out for Cherries. And I used to side in the 3 Max Cs in that matchup as well. But now I'm not so sure what I would take out for that. So that's definitely subject to change. But I might take out probably the Instant Fusions in a Mid-Shield Gardna. Because Mid-Shield Gardna is a normal summon that can be disrupted very easy. Because unlike Manju, it doesn't trigger on summon. And Nemesis Warrior has a quick effect, so Mid-Shield Gardna is the most susceptible to Farfa or Alec. And then Instant Fusions are also very susceptible to Alec and Farfa. So if I play Norden to get back a Nemesis Warrior, then they just Farfa my Norden, then that banishes my Nemesis Warrior, which is, very, very awful. You need your Nemesis Warriors in this deck. And that really hurts a lot. And so I've been kind of playing around with that sort of thing. Siding out a Mid-Shield Gardna, 2 Instant Fusions, 2 Book of Eclipse, and Solemn Warning for 3 Cherries and 3 Maxis. All of which are really good to draw, and then I'll just go second against Burning Abyss. Against Pendulums, I also side out the Book of Eclipses. And again, not because they're bad, but there just isn't enough space to side many other things out. And so I've got to make those sacrifices. And I generally replace them with Solemn Scoldings going first. And then going second, I would also side out a Mid-Shield Gardna and Instant Fusion in order to side in 3 Veilers and then 1 Raigeki. And I wouldn't side in the Scoldings going second, because I don't want to answer an established board with traps. Although I do keep in the Warning because it's generally just, I think, better. Against Monarchs, I side very similarly. I side out the 2 Instant Fusions and the 2 Book of Eclipses, as well as a Mid-Shield Gardna, and then I side in 3 Veilers and 2 Scoldings. And I really don't like siding those cards out, especially Mid-Shield Gardna because it is so good, because it is a starter card. But because I do play so many, I play 12, I can kind of afford to side one out. And then finally against Cosmos, I side out 1 Mid-Shield Gardna, and then 2 Instant Fusions, and I side into 2 Scoldings and the Raigeki. The reason I side in Raigeki is because I can summon rank 4s pretty easily, even without the Instant Fusions. And Dweller Raigeki is still very good, and even when you don't have Dweller on board, Raigeki is a very good tempo card in that matchup. So even just destroying a Dark Destroyer with Raigeki, forcing them to summon something else so that I can attack over whatever they summon, really helps a lot in just setting the tempo, because Umastryx can banish their ships. It can banish anything they have. But the only thing they can't banish is Dark Destroyer, pretty much, and Forerunner, of course. And so if you can destroy their Dark Destroyer, force them to summon like a Dark Lady or a Slip Rider or something like that, you're able to banish that with the Umastryx, and then really take advantage of the game from there. So Raigeki is just a good tempo card, and that's why I sided in that matchup. And once again, it's still very in the testing phases as to what I side in and out, and also the actual cards in the side deck, because the main deck space is so tight. Like, you don't want to side out Subterrors, you don't want to side out Prediction Princess Tarotrei or Manju. You can't side out the Speedroids. You don't want to side out Brilliant Fusion or any of those, because those are your starter cards. Those are going to help you get your engine going. Mid-Shield Gardna is a starter card, but of all of them, that's the one I'm going to take out because it's searchable with Rhoda. So as long as I keep 1 in, I still have 2. And it's a normal summon, unlike Brilliant Fusion and Speedroid Terrortop. And you don't want to take out the Hidden Cities because, that's just like one of the best cards in the deck. You obviously aren't siding out pre-preps, so that really only leaves like the Instant Fusions, Book of Eclipse. You don't want to side out Rhoda because that's like your bridge between your starter cards and your Subterrors. And you can get a Nemesis Warrior, you can get a Mid-Shield Gardna. And then sometimes I'll side out the Warning. But again, that really just doesn't leave much to side out, or too much flexibility. But I think the main deck is very solid. But let me know what you think about the side deck. If there's anything you would change, I'm definitely open to suggestions. And there are a lot of things I'd love to try out if you have any ideas. I have a few more ideas actually saved up for Subterrors that I'm going to be trying pretty soon. So look forward to some new Subterror videos. I have a duel video coming out pretty soon. The duel video doesn't use this exact build because this is actually like really recent. I just started playing the Brilliant Fusion engine. And before I was playing more Book of Eclipses. So the duel video is going to focus more on that pre-Brilliant Fusion build. However, all of the combos are the same. The only difference is that Brilliant Fusion gives you 3 more cards that help you do that combo. And that combo being if you have Hidden City, a Subterror monster, and a starter card. Those 3 cards are going to give you a +2 or +3, as well as getting your engine going by summoning you a Subterror and Nemesis Warrior. And then if you do draw pre-prep, it's going to guarantee you a Tarotrei. So in any of those 3 situations, you're going to be able to have a very strong opening turn and give you a good chance of winning that game in any matchup. And again, that's why I focused on resolving those combos as often as possible. Because I think when this deck reaches its ceiling, it can be pretty competitive. Like, it's not tier 0 or anything, but I think you can play on moderately even terms against some of the top decks, especially if you are the better player. So when playing Subterrors, I think it's important to have a very sound, solid deck. Minimize your dead draws and your dead cards, such as more flip monsters, more normal summons, more monsters that need to be tribute summoned like Pot of Taboos. You want to make your deck as consistent as possible. Know the deck inside and out. Know your opponent's deck. Focus on being the better player with a solid deck. And that's usually going to be enough to carry you to victory, even though this deck isn't as strong as Burning Abyss or Monarchs or anything like that. But it is good enough to give you a chance. So definitely try this deck out. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any changes. Once again, I'm open to ideas. Space is so tight. It's hard to really fit things in. But I've got like 3 or 4 different decks where I'm interchanging engines and stuff. So I'm loving playing Subterrors. And let me know how much you love it too. But alright guys, I'll see you guys later.